It's about that time to take a look at the big stories in the papers, the headlines, the major talking points. This is Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast. Yes, indeed. We're back again, people, for another installment on a Monday morning. It is a brand new day, a brand new week, another opportunity for you, for me, for everyone out there to be world class and audacious as well. And it's going to be interactive as it always is. So, you know how we do. And if you don't know, of course, I'll be letting you in. It's going to be the stories, analysis, and your thoughts and contributions as well. And for those thoughts and contributions, messages, and everything, you can send them in on WhatsApp or just join us on YouTube as well. The WhatsApp number is 0911 999 0981 0911 999 for those who are unfamiliar. Yes, it's a new number, out with the old and in with the new. That's how it is going to be. YouTube, you can join us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos, Smooth 981 FM Lagos. My name is Ayokunmi. Great to have you join us once again. And talking about joining us, it's going to be me and, of course, Mr. C and AB Bozimo in the show this morning. On the show this morning, AB, very good to have you join us. Thank you for making it a date.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C, and good morning to all the wonderful listeners out there. Let's go through the stories and retain hope and confidence that equal better.
Hope or renewed hope? What type of hope specifically, AB?
Genuine hope.
Genuine hope. That's fantastic. Mr. C, good morning to you.
Good morning, Lagos. I hope you had a good weekend. Let's get straight into the week.
Yes, indeed. It was a great weekend. But of course, after all the enjoyment and relaxation, it's back to big business. And big business is what we are all about on Freshly Pressed. Okay. We shall begin, Mr. C, talking about the EFCC. They have been in the news. And it's one of those stories that you just see and you wonder, why exactly are we here again? Anyways, this is coming out of the Punch, where operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, have reportedly stormed the Green Legacy Hotel located within the premises of the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta, Ogun State, and arrested some youths suspected to be internet fraudsters. Now, according to Punch Online, they gather that EFCC operatives carried out the raid in the early hours of Sunday during a pool party at the premises of the library. Now, this came barely 5 days after operatives of the Ibadan Zonal Directorate of the Commission arrested a suspected internet fraudster with two locally made pistols in a raid at K Hotel in the Ewekoro area of the state, Mr. C. I could have sworn that these sort of things had been put behind us and we weren't going to be seeing such raids anymore. But here we are once again.
Okay, thank you. So, reading the story.
Sound from Mr. C. I can't quite hear you. I don't know why.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
It's just faintly better, but please go on for the listener's sake.
Okay, so
great.
This. Okay, fantastic. So reading this story, it just hit me in so many places. So first of all, right, the current EFCC chairman, when he assumed office, he promised Nigerians that this issue of night raids would stop. I remember the statement he made during a press conference. So it's very surprising, extremely shocking to hear that the EFCC has carried out another night raid. Now, again, youth in the country were arrested on the premise that they are suspected internet fraudsters. Now, I think at this point, we must make a distinction. From a moral point of view, some people will ask, why are they out at that time of the morning? From a moral perspective, you're free to ask any questions you like. But from a legal perspective, can they be out at that time? Yes, provided they're not committing any crimes. Now, one of the questions that will naturally pop up is, at that time of the night, were they involved in any activities capable of being described as preparations or the act of committing an offense or series of offenses? We don't know the answer because we weren't there.
Right.
Now, the EFCC claims intelligence led its operatives to that place. Fantastic. How is it that your intelligence led them to a public place for a public event that had been publicly advertised but it couldn't lead you to their homes where they stay. Or it couldn't lead you to quieter areas where you could have picked them up quietly. Now, contrast this raid with the way a notorious Instagram Nigerian fraudster was picked up in Dubai. He was woken up early in the morning with his squad and they were shocked. The video clearly revealed the shock on their faces because even Nigerians did not know they were under investigation. Now, you have done this, and this was done in the premises of a respectable corporate citizen. And they're saying, look, we don't understand the nature of this raid. Now, another question that pops up, isn't this being selective? If this event were held at the hotel on Adetokunbo Demola from Amadou Bello, those stretch of hotels that belong to the same person, would the EFCC raid that place? Remember when the comedy with Yahya Bello was going on, that one night we were regaled with stories of how he was barricaded in some Abuja residence. The EFCC operatives were outside, but they didn't attempt to force their way in. So why is it that in the south, you force your way in? In the north, you don't? I have never read a news report of EFCC operatives forcing their way into premises anywhere in the north. And the question naturally that pops up in my mind is why? Now, if it then turns out that the people you picked up in Ogun State on Sunday morning are not suspected fraudsters, then what? Because you've painted that venue as being unsafe. People who had the thought of using that venue for recreation or other activities are like, we don't want our event to be disrupted by the FCC. Now, you want to build $1 trillion economy. Part of that economy must be allocated or given to leisure entertainment. Picture any serious country in the world, any serious country. There's an entertainment part where people can freely go off and let out steam. Nigeria is hard enough as it is. People want to let off steam. And then what boggles the mind is that there were police officers at the scene from the nearest divisional police station, from what we hear, and then policemen that were hired to provide security for a public event.
It wasn't a private event, it was a public event.
Exactly. Now, clearly, the EFCC did not know who was going to attend, or they could not have known who was in attendance. They were just told, oh, some young men have gathered, so let's show up. It would be interesting to know whether this was an official raid. We heard no warrant was shown. So if no warrant was shown, what was the probable cause for raiding the place in the absence of any visible offense being committed? Surely it cannot be that people gather to have a party. That can never be probable cause. But sadly, here we are again. The secretary to the EFCC said he wasn't aware of the incident. Now, here's hoping the EFCC chairman will address this issue publicly. Because at this point, is there a determined fight by the government against young people in this country? Is it an offense to go out and party? Is it an offense to go out and have a nice time, listen to music? Yeah, the moralistic people will say they should be in their houses sleeping or praying. But everybody is cut from a different cloth. From a legal perspective, what is the offense? Did they see them with laptops there?
What exactly is the basis?
So it will be good to hear from the EFCC what exactly informed this raid, whether it was legal, and what they have found, and whether anyone will be prosecuted.
Right. AB, I didn't have a word or two to add to this particular story. Yeah.
The bottom line is that it's almost like you're creating a situation where young men are an endangered species in Nigeria, and that's unacceptable. I happen to have many young architects who I work with, and the men say, you're trying to get from your point A to point B, you happen to have your laptop, and you are treated in a manner as though you are some kind of guilty until proven innocent person.
Okay.
Right. Yes. You are treated as if you are some kind of guilty until proven innocent person, and it's very, very wrong. And again, it is there, as they say in those our skits. Now there, then go find them. When you have governors stalking the streets, allegedly, same allegation, no proof, of having stolen money, EFCC can never be found. But young people, because you feel you can oppress them, I think it's very wrong. I was once a young man, and so I have the understanding of what life must be like for them. I'm not in any way justifying anybody doing wrongdoing, but look, EFCC, do your job professionally and properly. This is irresponsible on their part.
Irresponsibility on their part. Are you in full agreement? Let us know your thoughts on the matter. 0911-999-0981. 0911-999-0981. That is the WhatsApp number. Let us know exactly where you stand on this particular matter. All right, let's switch gears a little bit, AB, and head into the vanguard here and talk about what has been said to be a setback due to a drop in price of oil globally. Now, the execution of Nigeria's 54, the execution of Nigeria's 54.99 trillion naira budget suffered a major setback as the crude oil price dropped to $66 per barrel from $70 per barrel, indicating a 5.2% decrease yesterday. Now, this was even as Nigeria's oil output, including condensate and foreign exchange, stood at 1.8 million barrels per day and more than 1,500 naira per dollar, respectively. The nation's budget was based on 2.06 million barrels per day, per day, 1,500 naira per dollar, and $75 per barrel oil output exchange rate and oil price, respectively. AB, looking at where we are now, I mean, looking at all the projections and looking at where the prices are at the moment, it's not looking particularly good. And I just wonder if there's any way out of this particular situation.
I can respect an aspirational budget when you say, look, if we are able to do 2-point-something million barrels of oil and the price can be so and so, then we can, go for it. But I've always seemed to see a lot of unrealistic projections. And if anything, with the current world, I would have always advocated for more conservative approaches where you say, look, the oil could sell at 70. Let's do a budget on 65. This $1 trillion economy is nominal. Why shouldn't it be 10 trillion? Why shouldn't it be 50 trillion? You see, when you're trying to hit numbers that are not based on any specific thing, you now create quote unquote problems for yourself. Again, nothing wrong with aspiring, but from the jump, we said $75 at the time when oil was 70. What on earth did we feel was our ability to make the price go up? Instead of trying to put things on nothing, how about you take what it is and even cut off the top so that you have some room to quote unquote suffer? Now we have a situation where the budget execution is threatened. That's obvious. If the numbers you put in place and targeted are not in place, you will have challenges. So the question is, what to do next? Do we have any demonstration that those in authority at the federal and must I state this, the sub-national, i.e. the states level, do any of them demonstrate capacity, imagination, courage to actually make the areas that they're in charge of worth speaking about? As another story will reveal, very few of them do. Out of 36, only about 6 states have actually attracted FDI, but FDI is good. It's good to have. What are you doing with the investment in your own state, the money you get each month? How do you deploy it? Is it just to travel around the world, organize whatever's for yourselves, or do you actually sit down and say, I have 48 months as a governor, or whatever the tenure must be. I'm going to break down the following projects and I'm going to start delivering on them. I don't really see those kind of plans. I just see budgets. And at the end of the day, this situation is going to tell on the overall budget. But are we seeing any cost-cutting exercises? Are we seeing any belt tightening on the part of those in office? Arguably not. So this is just information. What do we have under our control? Oil production. How do we go from 1.5 to 2.06? What steps are we taking? I haven't heard anything being announced. We just seem to have these targets, pie in the sky targets, but no cogent plans by which to attain them. And that's why I say a lot of the budget itself is predicated on fantasy, just fantasy. You don't really have a way to go about it. Why don't you base your budget on what is? And then everything else can be, found money, and you can now expend that. At this point, I just feel we should keep it real. Since we're always passing papers in the National Senate, rebudgetize ourselves, come down to something reasonable, and then try and show capacity to deliver on that. Then if the oil prices go up, great. If the oil price is 70, do your budget as a rule $5 below what it is. I think that is a good way to plan. But right now, we're just going to have problems. But the only people who have problems are ordinary Nigerians. In the ruling class, they don't cut their cloth. They will continue doing everything that they have always done without any vestige of cost cutting. That is the sad thing. The ordinary Nigerian will suffer it, but not the ruling class, because there is a vast divide between them in their perception and ordinary Nigerians.
Yeah, thank you for that, AB. Mr. C, before we actually leave the story, I mean, looking at what's been going on here in terms of the fluctuation where the oil prices are actually concerned, doesn't this make a further case for diversification of the economy, serious diversification of the economy in terms of not putting all the focus on what is going on with oil? Because we've seen very clearly that it could go a way that doesn't benefit us, and that is happening right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally, Ayo, that yes, we need to diversify the country's sources of revenue. But even before that, there needs to be a new culture of discipline. We need to do away with the culture of impunity, the culture of waste, because there's a story we're going to take where money is just being wasted freely. Now, even at $75 as projected in the budget, we were already running a deficit. Now, at $66, Ayo, guess what? We're running a further 10% deficit on the projected crude oil price in the budget. How is this going to be funded? Because you would think that by this time we would have intelligent proposals. All you're going to hear is further borrowings. And the key question remains, the abiding question remains, how will these loans be paid down the road?
When all else fails, borrow some more money. Just seems like that's the solution to every single problem. Let's just borrow, and borrow some more. Seems like it's so easy for them to do, really, when you think about it. Stan on WhatsApp says, but for real, I haven't heard of the EFCC invading anywhere in the north. Well, I'm waiting for anyone who can actually tell us if they've seen something similar or something like that. So Infajo says, when I saw the news, I was really scared for the younger ones. Will there be any innocent one among them? On what grounds will they be interrogated? They might even be asked to pay a certain amount before they will be released as well. I mean, we've heard allegations of things like this happening severally. So you just wonder, was that the premise of this particular raid? Make some money. I don't know. Anyways, Mr. C, let us keep walking here. We're walking back into the punch. The Lagos State government has ordered a comprehensive inspection of all vehicles operated by licensed e-hailing platforms in the state, citing safety risks and poor service delivery as well. In a statement on Sunday titled Lagos State Government to Roll Out Inspection Schedule for E-hailing Operators, the State Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Oshiyemi, said the move is aimed at improving safety, service quality, and regulatory compliance across the sector. I mean, it is a good idea. For those who've had to patronize the e-hailing rides recently, you would know that the quality levels have dipped quite a bit. They don't seem to be standards anymore. So, I mean, this is a good thing. But Mr. C, as we're discussing before we came on the air, as I mentioned, what is good for the goose is sauce for the gander. Are we going to extend this to our public transportation sector, aka your downfalls, your ways, and so on and so forth? Will they be held to the same or similar standards?
Okay. Thank you, Ayod. So this story again hits me in places I can't even understand. So is the Lagos State government trying to suggest that before now they were not inspecting their cars? Because I'm confused as to the directive that they should now start inspecting them. So what previously obtained? And does it then mean that certain cars, certain vehicles were exempt from the checks by the Vehicle Inspection Service? Now, I guess, like you said, it's a good measure because honestly, some of those cars are wonderful. I had the wonderful experience of being in one on Saturday, and it was interesting. It was creaking all the way. So the bigger no, it wasn't Thursday, it wasn't Saturday, it was Friday. Anyways, where are we? It's good they ordered this, and cars that do not meet the requisite standard levels should be dropped. Now, to answer your question on whether commercial drivers would be exempt from this directive or would also have to obey this directive, remember the directive doesn't mention them. I'll share a personal experience. I took one of my cars for the vehicle inspection service. I had to come back because they insisted I go and sort something out. So I came back and pointed out that I don't see any commercial buses or vehicles here. And the officer looked me straight in the face and says, "We go to their parks." At that point, I was just like, "This is a lost cause. There's no point. There's no point
They go to
pushing
their park to
conversation."
do what?
No, they don't go anywhere. Because when you see these vehicles on the road, some of them have no rear lights, some of them have no side mirrors, some of them have no no headlights in
You just
front.
wonder how exactly they're even running to start with.
Some of them, the tires are not aligned, they're not balanced. It's hilarious. Then some of them, if you've had the opportunity to enter some of them, you find that in place of a tank, you find an open jerry can.
Okay, yes. I have seen that person.
With a hose.
Like,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
AB,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
AB is stunned. Yes. In this same Lagos,
Oh, yeah.
AB. Yes.
So all sorts of things happen, and this is a good step. Let them extend it to the commercial buses and vehicles so that driving in Lagos is a much safer experience. It's more pleasurable. And then I have a question. The vehicles of the armed forces, are they liable to this vehicle inspection service?
See, you are.
Specifically the police. And I have a second question to back it up. Don't vex, but is there something in policing that means that a brand new Hilux given to a policeman cannot last 2 weeks before it looks like something out of Gaza?
No, they're using it to secure you.
Have they secured the vehicle itself? It's amazing. You see a brand new vehicle in days, it looks battered. Come on now. Is there something in policing in Nigeria specifically? It's just a question. Maybe one of our wonderful listeners can enlighten me.
One of the reasons I love Freshly Pressed is sometimes you look at some serious issues and you're able to make some light of it because, I mean, if you don't, it can drive you crazy when you actually think about it. Goodness gracious. Let me take a message here. This is from Tayo Naja. He says, "I'm sure Danfo and Korokways are so happy their ops, the e-hailing cabs are getting scrutinized by Lagos State government, but it's hard for them to hold the mirror and reflect. Let me enter this rickety bus to work and ponder on government musings." Emeka says, "What's the point of all the vehicle inspections when the roads within the state are in very bad shape? Tell any of those e-hailing drivers you're going to Isolo, for instance, and you'll see the frustration on their faces. That's if they didn't even cancel on you to start with anyway. So there's that. All right, let's keep the ball rolling here. AB, I am coming back to you. Let us talk about President Donald Trump. We're taking this from The Guardian. Now, it says the United States has strongly condemned the recent wave of brutal attacks targeting Christians in Nigeria and across sub-Saharan Africa, calling the violence horrific and pledging to work with international partners to address the crisis. The condemnation follows a series of deadly incidents in recent weeks, including the massacre of 27 Christians in the Nigerian village of Bindi Tahos by Islamist Fulani militants. And it was described by eyewitnesses as a horrific scene with many victims, many of them women and children burned alive while seeking refuge in a church. AB, President Trump is putting mouth in this matter here. What are your thoughts on this?
You know, Trump is a very interesting figure in that, one way or the other, he's one of those people that you either love or loathe. I would say, first of all, the loss of lives is always condemnable. And I say loss, murders are condemnable. We will all lose our lives eventually, but we seek natural causes. So hearing about this, we talk about it all the time. You and I and everybody on Freshly Pressed and everywhere talks about these murders. We call them terrorists. Nobody seems to care. I don't know whether because Trump has now decided to put mouth, quote unquote, we will start caring. I don't know. But it's notable, and I think it should remind our government officials that everybody has Google. You might think you are inside your country and nobody cares. Other people are seeing and caring about what's going on. And in this case, they have found a stream of people. Listen, murders in Nigeria happen to both Christians, Muslims, non-religious people, everybody. So all murders are condemnable. But in this case, you have somebody who's saying, oh, this particular set of people, it's very horrible. That same person, I don't hear his comments about the murders of people in Gaza, but separate conversation. I don't know what he plans to do. He said they have vowed to respond decisively. By doing what? I'm just curious because these murders have been going on for over a decade. Yes, recently they've had these terrible ones, but they have all been horrible. People have been murdered and murdered and murdered and murdered, both within Nigeria and outside, because there's also Democratic DRC, Congo, where some of these things are happening. I'm just curious as to what the strategy will be. But, just to round off, at the end of the day, security of life is the number one goal and role of a government. When you are not doing that, it doesn't matter how many trillions you want your economy to be, you are failing in your primary duty. And that goes straight to the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the various state governors. Yes, the state governors don't have any control over military and other forces, but they have the ability to make their states so economically viable that crime and criminality becomes less of an option. So in that regard, the state governors are also failing woefully. Across Nigeria is a picture of security failures. What will Trump do? He's not going to send a bomb here, but I'm curious to know whether his intention to wade in will have any effect on those who are in charge of security in Nigeria.
Okay, so let me quickly jump in on this. In addition to everything AB has said, it's instructive that President Trump is properly identifying the issue. Before now, we've been told herder-farmer clashes. We've lived long enough in this country from independence to date. How is it that in the last 15 years, these clashes have now become prominent? They've always been clashes, but they were never this violent, meaning there is something else to this that meets the eye. And political administrations in Nigeria have lacked the will to properly address this issue. Well, like AB says, let's see what President Trump will do about it.
Let's see what President Trump will do about this, Mr. C.
Very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. Very quickly, even though at 9 o'clock we will expand more on it. Daily Post is where we're heading to very, very quickly here. The Edo State chapter of the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, has berated the governor of Monday led government in the state for spending 3.51 billion naira of taxpayers' funds on international trips and training in 3 months. I'll just leave it at that so you can just walk us into it before 9 o'clock.
Okay, so very quickly, in Q1 2025, that is the period between January 1st, 2025 and 31st
of March 2025, 30 Nigerian states spent 11.75 billion on international trips and training, and with zero result in terms of foreign investment, as in zero. They didn't even get $1. Now, the PDP in Edo State has said the government spent 3.51 billion during that period. But checking the NBS report, what the Edo State government spent is under 700 million. Either way, money was spent. Now, the Edo State government, in response, has said their strategy is direct, is actionable, and will bring value to the people. Now, my question to the Edo State government is this. What sort of strategy are you running if in Q1 you didn't attract a single dollar? Make it make sense.
These things take time to see.
Anyway, I would like to see the Q2 results. Anyway, Thankfully, we're in August. Let's see the Q2 results and let's see if there was any further progress made. Because if you're traveling for 90 days without making a single dollar, what does this say about what you've been doing? And before people come out rushing, he's been in office since September last year. It's more than a month. If Edo State were a private company and he was the MD, would he still be in office?
All right, let me take your messages. This particular conversation will continue on Lagos Talks at 9, but let me run through the messages. Let me start with YouTube, first of all. It's unusual I do it. I'm reading the reverse today. The Lighthouse says, big lie. It's a revenue generation drive. FRSC stops branded buses and says there's a speed limiter law. These thousands of small commercial buses on the road, they have speed limiters. do they even know what that is? Tajuddin Abu Hadi says, clearly, Mr. C, they don't. And he's talking to, and then he says the commissioner doesn't use bulletproof SUV, probably, and travels in a large convoy like his superiors. And Joseph says they go to their parks. How now? This is just sad indeed. Vehicle inspection is only for private citizens. Public vehicles are not involved. Very, very clearly. And all right, this is from Tayo says, when the Pope talked about killings in Nigeria, federal government responded by visiting the location. Now, McDonald is talking about it. Let's wait and see what the government will do. Just visits and nothing else after. Tony Marimbit says, I'm still wondering how the supposed intelligent people working on our budget keep coming up with such unrealistic and unsafe pies in the sky targets. I'm also shocked how our leaders pack their eggs in one basket, putting so much pressure on the petroleum sector amidst the abundance of what nature has bestowed on our land. A lady just visited from neighboring Mali and told how their currency is now almost 3 times the value of our naira, yet we see our leaders going borrowing like they're intent on pulling the nation's economy down beach and jeopardizing the future of Nigerian youths. I'm so ashamed of our leaders. Kweju says, AB is spot on. I have never seen the police on a chase before, like in Hollywood, so I cannot understand how their vehicles look like that. It's such a shame. Stan says, Baba gave up when he heard we go to their parks. I mean, even my hands would fall to the ground. Like, there's nowhere else to turn at this point in time. Joseph Meni in Silver State says, how long will the shenanigans and impunity end in Nigeria? Can the chairman of the EFCC explain to Nigerians why it's so easy to ambush hotels to arrest suspected internet fraudsters, but the daylight politicians who allegedly think that public funds are walking freely, Yaya Bello and co. But EFCC is quick to go after petty suspected criminals? May God help us. May God help us indeed. Ajayi Lulua says, the tragedy of Nigeria is that governance has been turned into one huge market of buying and selling with budgetary revenue based on the vagaries of the fluctuating crude oil prices. In other countries of the world, government revenue is based solely on tax receivables on goods and services produced in the country. This is from Ade in Lagos. Ade, what happened to this corpus? This is not what we're talking about this morning. This is not on our menu at all, but thank you for sending your message in. Yes, okay, this is from Rexin Surrey. It says budgets are projections made ahead for a future period. So it will miss more than hit, especially if it's aspirational like we do in Nigeria. It ends in either deficits and surpluses. Deficits are plugged by borrowing. Debt is a legitimate financial tool. Lagos State has leveraged it over the last 25 years to fast-track development and grow its economy and revenue sources. Today, it has a B+ rating. That means it has a payback ratio of ×5. Debt is an enabler when used strategically. Same fears were raised back in the early noughties when Lagos started. Guess who was in charge then? Relax. Okay, Lexi, thank you for your message. Very well appreciated. And thank you all so much for all the messages and keeping it tuned to Freshly Pressed. Thank you to you, Mr. C, and AB for joining us this morning. AB.
Thank you all. I agree. Debt is very good when managed properly. The question is the management. So everyone have a wonderful, to the best extent you can, debt-free week. And let's see how we proceed across the course of these next few days. God bless you all.
Thank you, Angus. Thank you, AB. Lagos, Nigeria, rest of the world. Let's go out and do this.
Yes, let's go out and do this. Carpe diem, seize the day. And we shall seize the initiative at 8:15 when we take a walk into the locker room where it's all about great sporting action and everything in between.